lot of good shit coming up. I'm very excited for it, and I'm very excited for all of it, man. It's going to be a good time.
All right, so with that being said, let's get into the happy hour. Let's wet our whistles. We got some drinks here. Spoiler alert, not a lot of DQ finishes, but we're going to make sure we get our drinks in throughout the night. So happy hour, let's get into it.
My fupa! Don't break my fupa, damn it! You take it easy.
There's Dusty, and little did he know better days would be ahead, where he'd be dressed in denim out in the hot South Dakota sun in August, where he'd be rocking all that denim, and like we said, that belt was hanging on for dear life along those denim jeans. But
yeah. Sweet sassafras.
So let's hop right into the newsletter, and we have some good things. And I was mentioning to you off air, some of the newsletters becoming a little bit thinner. When the beginning of the year, there was so much to cover with Brian Pillman and everything going on with him, the emergence of Hulk Hogan turning heel, everything going on with the war between WWF and WCW. It seems like things are quieting down. There are definitely things we're going to talk about in the newsletter, but I've noticed in the last few weeks, it's sort of everything's sort of laying flat, and I think we're going to get more into the chaos outside of the ring in the coming months. But I think this is the calm before the storm.
Hell yeah. No, I mean, that's how it goes, right? Things kind of even out, get a little slow, a little steady, and then bam, we're rushed. All the good stuff.
So to start, we talked about guaranteed contracts, and obviously Kevin Nash and Scott Hall got their money, but WCW in general, guaranteed contracts being given out were great for WCW because it made the wrestling war that much more competitive. It forced the hand of Vince McMahon into giving downside guarantees on contracts, breaking a lengthy company policy against any type of guaranteed salary except for Hulk Hogan. The WWF was making more money in the late 80s, but at that point, McMahon didn't see Jim Crockett, who was offering guaranteed deals, as a threat. He sees the current WCW and basically got everybody to sign those legendary one-sided contracts. So we're seeing more of, I guess, the wrestlers going out and getting their money while they can. And obviously we can talk throughout the history of wrestling, how much injury and also health issues play into it, where these guys have to make their money when they can. And it seems like time is better than ever right now, where we are in 2022. But I mean, 1996 set the table for these guys like a Punk, like a Danielson, to get paid, and they don't have to be in the ring that much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, this was the beginning of all that. I mean, we see less dates, more paychecks, higher paychecks, more zeros, brother. So, I mean, this is where the founding fathers of guaranteed pay rates came from.
So Meltzer also mentions again, and he calls the deal that Brian Pillman has, he puts the adjective unproven to Brian Pillman, which it truly was, because he has accomplished a lot in WCW and WWF, but he still was signing potential. And we see some of that throughout sports nowadays, where you see, teams offer, and the Atlanta Braves just did it the other day with Michael Harris II. They offered him a $71 million, which again, over the course of 14 years, it's life-changing money. But that guy, if he's going to be the player they expect him to be, he would wind up making 10 times that on an open market, but they're trying to sign team-friendly deals based on potential. So the point being is, wrestling is having that mindset now, trying to get in and signing these guys long-term, even though it's helping them out financially. You're trying to sign them before they hit the open market. And I think we're seeing a lot of that with Tony Khan, right out of the playbook of Eric Bischoff. Yeah,
no, absolutely.
So we continue with this, and the pattern for this industry for close to 100 years is that very few people control a very large percentage of the wealth, mostly the promoters and the bookers. But the leverage is starting to shift into the favor of the wrestlers. And I think you can credit Kevin Nash and Scott Hall with that. Hulk Hogan, obviously, as well. But these guys are now controlling their narrative, not to be the shitty version of a wrestling promotion, but they truly are controlling where they go. And again, these guys are trailblazers, not just for what they've done in the ring, but for what they've done for the business and the other people that have come after them. I don't think they get the gratitude they deserve for really, I mean, they get known as selfish, and they're getting paid the most money, and there's a lot of heat in the locker room for them at the current day in 1996. But there's a lot to be said about the wrestlers should really thank Kevin Nash and Scott Hall for going out of the way to not only look out for their health, less dates, but being able to get paid guaranteed money, whether you work or not. That's huge.
Yeah, no, absolutely huge. Especially in this business, we know it was very stiff, very, very hard hitting, a lot of dates, a lot of work in, not as big of pay as you would imagine. So, I mean, all the thanks go out to the outsiders, brother.
Yeah, I mean, you could also talk about the fact, I mean, they would never imagine, even the outsiders probably couldn't imagine the lighter schedule these guys are working. We talk about Bryan Danielson. He works, once every 3 weeks, once every 4 weeks. Guys like, CM Punk, he was hurt, but obviously he was wrestling only the special events. they're really saving those bullets for these guys and saving their bodies. And it's extending careers to the point where they're going to be able to wrestle until they're 45 and then some.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So the most recent figures for the week ending in July 14th, the Monday night show and the weekend cable and syndication following the Hogan turn. This is the rating everybody was waiting for. So among the biggest gaps ever, WCW being seen in 6.49 million homes on 184 stations. Think about that number. That's insane. While WWF was in 3.92 million. So the divide's starting to really separate. WCW starting to take off to the races. We're seeing that this is right at the beginning of their 83 weeks of reigning and making sure they're leaving WWF in the dust, where they put the panic mode into WWF and Vince McMahon.
Yeah, 100%. Those numbers are crazy by today's standard. Those are triple what we're used to seeing easily. It's insane.
Well, if you look at the newsletters today, and I'm still a proud subscriber to Dave Meltzer, obviously I'm able to go back into the archives and check this out. If they get 1 million viewers, I mean, I know SmackDown does over 2 sometimes, but 3.92 was looked at as a disappointing number in 1996 for WWF, but you're getting 6.49. That's not even the high point that we're eventually going to get to. Combined homes watching professional wrestling on a given night on a Monday, it's close to 10 million people. It's insanity.
It is insane, man. And I mean, it just goes to show how important it was back in the day. And how the big boom period, we didn't have streaming. We didn't have, it was all strictly, you had to watch it now or you missed it. And I think that's what made it huge. It was must-see TV, man.
Yeah, and less options on, you mentioned streaming, but also YouTube as well. And I think a metric, the Nielsen stuff is a little bit outdated. I do think the actual homes and being measured, that's more accurate than the Nielsen ratings. But if you really look at it, people are consuming wrestling in a different capacity now. You look at, obviously, people watch their wrestling on Twitter. They look on Instagram. They check out the reels that people on Turnbuckle Tavern post. You actually have the way that people watch wrestling is being completely different now. And I don't know how you can account for the YouTube clicks. You can look at them. I don't know if AEW gets credit for them, but some of those videos that were up for 10 minutes, the Moxley and CM Punk interaction, within 6 minutes at 177,000 people. I'm not even sure what it's up to. It's probably got to be close to about 1 million views. Yeah. That's got to be taken into account, no?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it all counts for something. It's all viewers, but they don't necessarily pull it into the same boat as ratings, which is just asinine in this day and age. Because you're probably getting more traction online than you are off of a physical cable channel or even your Hulu or Netflix, all that shit, So it's wild, man.
Yeah, I know they count DVR numbers, but I think, and it's tough because right now the networks are still dealing with that antiquated system. They're still transitioning over, and I think sports will pave the way. I think the NFL will play a huge part in the way they display their product. Amazon playing a big part, maybe eventually Netflix being a part of the sporting world with live sports. It's going to set the groundwork for what wrestling does. And maybe at some point wrestling paves the way for sports, but I think it's going to be the other way around, where if these streaming services can earn the trust, like an Amazon Prime, of these other the networks to get ratings and be able to, I don't know, that's where people are going to find the product. I think we're going to have to start to shift how we view ratings and views in homes, because I think wrestling is more popular than people are giving it credit for on a network scale. Yeah,
100% agree, man.
So we also had the news, and it was a whole long thing in the newsletter talking about how the way that WWF is going to be syndicated changes. So we have WCW being on the 184 stations, WWF being on 155. So with WWF losing some strong stations and time slots in key markets come September, this gap should widen greatly next television season, to the point the respective television packages won't even be in the same league to the advertisers. And we know advertisers play a huge part in what we're able to do and the money coming in. And at this point, advertisers and pay-per-view revenue and live events are the key. Merchandise as well are the key to these wrestling promotions. So that lifeblood, when you remove it, WCW was off to a raging start to get ahead of WWF.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so even with the Olympics that's happening right now, that's why Nick Storm in the building, MGM is hosting Nitro all these weeks in a row, because obviously Atlanta is focused on the Olympics in 1996. Nitro opened up a huge audience because the Saturday show was moved back an hour, and 35% of its regular audience didn't watch, and Sunday was preempted, so that artificially inflated the Monday rating. However, after 3.2 first hour, it fell to 2.9. AKA people were tuning in. They were curious what happened after Bash at the Beach. They want to know what happened with Hulk Hogan. So it did pop a rating and got the casual person to tune in. And the fact that the Olympics were going on, the opening ceremony, mind you, at the same time, huge deal that people are watching wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Though it just shows how big of a grand sport pro wrestling really is.
And the crazy part is Nitro's replay averaged a 1.7 rating and a 3.5 share, which the numbers don't mean anything to me, is a new replay record at the time. So people that didn't watch it live came out and said, you know what, I'm going to watch it again because I want to know what happened with Hogan. Even though I care about the Olympics, I also care about wrestling. So they put them on the same playing field, which is still amazing. Like you said, no DVR, either you're taping it or you're watching it whenever it's put on your TV, you have to check it out.
Yeah. And listen, ratings don't count on VHS tapes. That's for sure.
If only they did, man. But moving into the August 14th newsletter, we have Jeff Jarrett quitting the USWA and will sit out until starting WCW in early October. So Jeff Jarrett was rumored to be that third man. Thank God he wasn't. What are your thoughts on Jeff Jarrett and his impact on WCW? I guess you watched his whole career throughout WCW. Obviously, he was very prominent as the world champion at the end in 2000.
Yeah.
Slapnuts era. But what's your feeling on Jeff Jarrett? You think he's better presented in WCW or how he's presented in WWF?
Man, you have to walk before you can run, right? So I think that's a good statement for Jeff Jarrett. I don't think he really shined until his TNA days, to be honest with you. I loved his run in WCW. It was, I mean, it wasn't must see. It wasn't my guy. It wasn't like, oh, I'm tuning in to watch Jeff Jarrett, man. JEFF, you know. I could care less. But yeah, I think it really built him into where he was in TNA. So I think if he didn't have this run in WCW, his previous run in WWF, he wouldn't have had such an impactful promotion when TNA was at its highest, right? If that makes any sense. So
no,
yeah,
sure.
I wasn't super keen on him at the time. Like it's the slap nuts thing, all that shit. I would pop for the guitar shot. And that was about it. You know, I did not have my heart into him.
Yeah, Jeff Jarrett was hopping all over the place. He was on both sides of the Monday Night fence for a bit, and clearly he'll be back on the other side eventually. 99, he'll be back in WWF. 98, obviously, and then he'll be back in WCW. So he has no allegiance to either side. He'll be back where the money goes. Jeff Jarrett will follow. Jeff Jarrett himself, I agree with you. The TNA stuff is vastly underrated. I'm not sure if we're ever going to sit here and I guess review any of the TNA days, but there's some really good stuff. And, you know, give Jarrett some credit. When they were doing the weekly pay-per-views back in the day, I guess 2003, 2002, something like that, where Ron Killens was the first champion. You had Ken Shamrock there, early AJ Styles, Amazing Red. Jeff Jarrett was doing good heel stuff. I mean, so he gets a bad rap, and I think he's cleaning up that image a little bit, being on a podcast with Conrad. I think he's putting himself out there more, so people are less likely. They're hearing his side of the story more. So he's clearing up some untruths, if you will. Yeah. But I think he doesn't get the credit he deserves. I don't think he's as impactful as he probably believes he is, but I also think he's also not as detrimental to the business as people want to make him out to be.
No, absolutely.
I mean, they throw the Jeff Jarrett name at Cody. You know what I mean? They throw that name at Cody as like an insult. Like he's Jeff Jarrett. He thinks he's bigger than he actually is. He made himself the world champion. But I also think there is an era of Jeff Jarrett that he actually kind of came into his own. And I think you're right. It's the TNA days.
Yeah, no, listen, I was a huge fan of TNA from not so much the early days. Probably I'll give it like 2006 until like 2012. Thought they were fantastic, man. Really fun program, good storytelling. We got to see the rise of the Samoa Joes, the AJ Styles outside of Ring of Honor, kind of on a bigger platform, which was new for them. It was cool to see them kind of build up these big names of this.
Raven was there too, having some good matches.
Yeah, Jay Lethal. I mean, they were the only company still carrying the ECW themed pay-per-views with was it Hardcore Justice or some shit like that? Yeah,
it was the ECW originals. Yeah,
but they were good. It was entertaining shit. Yeah. It wasn't terrible, you know. And God, we got to see Daphne. There were so many good names in TNA. We might have to do a shot of nostalgia, but maybe a sub-season on just a few
we're doing
TNA shows.
Episodes for ECW, but maybe we'll pick 13 episodes from TNA. And I mean, they'd be hard to find right now. I know they have their streaming service, so if someone knows. Let us know how you can find all these episodes, because I like the old stuff. When you get the newer stuff, it starts to lose me when it starts to get a little blurry when they lose sight of who they are.
I want 6-sided rings. I want fucking Ultimate X matches. I want it all.
Well, you and I brought up Billy Corgan on the wrap-up show last night, and I've shout out to Billy Corgan, the promoter of NWA, and he's doing amazing work there. And he came up in the news because of the sort of the small beef that was squashed with him and Tony Khan. But I think what makes NWA so great right now is they don't lose sight of who they are. They're not trying to be something they're not. And I think eventually TNA got to a point, signing the Hogans, bringing in Foley's, bringing in Flair. You lose sight about who you are trying to be this. I guess because there was an opening, under WWE, there was no one there. They were trying to make that jump, and they just were unable to make that jump that AEW made from the get-go with the money being backed by Tony Khan.
Yeah.
I think if they would have stuck to what they were doing, of course they exist now in a different entity, but they would have just kind of did their thing for a bit. I think there was a ground swelling of support for them that would have stuck with them if they didn't abandon what they were doing. Listen,
you want to talk ratings? That first live Monday night Impact was, I think it was like a 1.9, 1.7. It was huge. I mean, that's big for Spike TV numbers, man.
Right.
So, I mean, they did something right, and they had all the names, they had all the talent. It was too many cooks in the kitchen. Much like the downfall of WCW.
Yeah, and I think both of those stories are very apropos. I mean, compare the two of them. I think TNA is a cautionary tale for what AEW didn't want to be. Same thing with WCW. You can follow the footsteps and make sure you don't go down that wrong path, because WCW made some of the same mistakes that TNA eventually made too.
Yeah.
You have to just follow the path of least resistance sometimes and not make these choices that bury you and giving up. I mean, who knows? But, that's a different conversation for a different time. I don't want to go too far off track with the Impact stuff. That is an interesting, fascinating conversation about Jeff Jarrett.
And Vince Russo.
Vince Russo is a common denominator in some of the downfalls. All right, so we have some more stuff going on with the 1996 Forbidden Door. New Japan and WCW have a joint single elimination tournament from September 19th to September 23rd in Japan, with first round being Chono versus Sting, Koji Naka versus Hugh Morris, Hashimoto versus Scott Hall, Muto versus William Regal or Steven Regal, Choshu versus Scott Norton, Tenzan versus Arn Anderson, Luger versus Sasaki, and Fujinami versus Flair. It's a lot of Japanese names, a lot of WCW names.
Good talent, too.
Where can we find this? I need to watch this tournament. Really awesome stuff coming up in September.
I wonder if it's on the New Japan archives.
There are some matches. I'm not like, the problem is with New Japan World, they don't have a lot of things in sequential. Like they have split up matches, just matches that are loose. Like you can click on, you want to type in Brock Lesnar or Shinsuke Nakamura, you type in their name and just matches come up. So
yeah,
it's not full events. It's challenging to navigate.
We got to figure it out. Maybe Tom's Pirate could help us find it.
I completely agree. But I mean, this has me thinking about a potential New Japan versus WCW single elimination tournament. I know there's been some heat on the amount of tournaments. We had the Owen Hart tournament. We had the tournament for the All Atlantic Championship. We had the tournament for the Trios titles. Tournaments all over the place. But I do like an interpromotional tournament, maybe hosted somewhere else. I know this will be hosted in New Japan. Why don't we have an AEW tournament somewhere else? I think that'd be freaking awesome. With big names, too. You got to have your main guys participate. It can't just be Dante Martin. Sorry to hate on Dante Martin. You need your main guys.
No, absolutely, man. And you're 100% correct. I'd love to see it. It would make for some great fucking TV.
So we have WCW beating WWF again in the ratings. WCW did a 3 in both hours, averaging a 3 and a 5.4 share to Raw's 2.8 and 4.6. However, the big story is that the viewers were switching to Raw in droves during the show. So back and forth, channel flipping was a thing, back and forth. Reiterate to the people that are just watching for the first time, what was your ritual on a Monday night? How were you starting? Where were you going? What made you turn the channel? Tell me about how it looked for you. Dorito dust on your fingers, right?
Oh, yeah. No, we would sit down, we'd grab our sodas, we'd get comfortable. WCW obviously had that hour start. So they were ahead of the game for a while with Raw. So you'd be able to start WCW 7 o'clock. Raw didn't come out until 8, so you got that first hour, kind of feel it out, get what's the main event going to be, who's all on, what's the stories they're telling. Second, 8 o'clock comes on, WCW usually be either in a commercial or right in the middle of a match. So if you had to pick and choose, it was like holding a gun to your head, especially when you're a little kid wrestling fan. You're like, do I hit the button? Do I hit? It was like, so, I mean, USA Channel 10 here in Chicago and TNT Channel 13 I use that return button all the time on that clicker, man. Boom, go back. All right, what's going on here? Boom.
Faded buttons from all those pushing.
Oh, absolutely, man. And those were small remotes back in the day. Those guys were only like this big. Now you got these big ass remotes. You guys got it easy now.
I remember the first time I figured out how to do split screen with a little screen in the bottom. I was able to figure that out. It was game changing for me.
Absolutely, man. We didn't have a TV like that until probably like close to the end of the 90s. But I never could figure it out. It was such a pain in the ass. I always was like, come on, motherfucker.
And you could, the funny part is that you couldn't figure out which the audio was coming from. You're trying to put it in the bigger screen, but it's still from the smaller screen. And you're able to watch both at the same time. If you're lucky enough to hook up two TVs at one time, I mean, hardwired, not possible. But now you hook up all the TVs, your computer, your laptop, a whole bunch of stuff, your phone.
Yeah, my computer's got two screens now. I mean, you can see the glasses right here.
Maybe, just maybe in the future, someone else will have another Monday Night War, maybe a Friday Night War where it actually be competitive and you're actually putting an effort into it, and we'll get something like that with the platform being what it is. I mean, it would be just unbelievable to be able to watch it like we used to.
Yeah.
All right, so we have the 1-2-3 Kid is set to debut for WCW this week. He obviously would debut as 6. We know eventually Sean Waltman would be a huge part of the New World Order, so much so that he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I think I brought this up to you a while ago. He was inducted as obviously DX, well-deserved, but some controversy as he was inducted with Hogan, Hall, and Nash as the 4th member of the NWO, where really the Giant was more, in my opinion, more influential with that group. It's just because he's a member of the Clique. What's your take on it?
I think we brushed a little bit on it. I think it should have been Bischoff and not X-Pac. I love Sean Waltman. I really do. Great, awesome in-ring worker. Obviously, he made an impact in his time. But, I mean, as you said, the Giant, you could have did the Giant. You could have did – there's so many different people. You could have did the Booty Man. They should have had the Booty Man there as the 4th man because he technically – I mean, no spoilers again, but he comes out with cake. He's the first non-NWO person rocking an NWO shirt. Very wild. But I think it should have been just the 3 or throwing Bischoff because Bischoff really was technically the 4th man the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep. So before we move into the event, Meltzer's take on Hog Wild in the newsletter, I just wanted to go through. I went a couple episodes ahead on the newsletter and just found his take on it. So I was curious what he thought because of the unique venue and the fact that the matches were pretty historic. But there was other things that happened in the event that I did not know, and maybe you did know this, but similar to WWF where the power went out and they missed the first 2 hours of Beware Dog, I think it was back in May, WCW took its lumps over the weekend from a natural disaster similar to how the WWF did a few months back with his pay-per-view from Florence, South Carolina. Just over an hour into WCW Hog Wild was scheduled to begin, a major blackout occurred, which encompassed parts of 9 states, most heavily in California. Many people who did have power were unable to order or receive the pay-per-view, as well as because computers and many cable companies had no power to process orders. Power returned at various times, but again, if the computers weren't working, orders for replay shows couldn't be processed. As WWF learned with the situation earlier this year, when something like this occurs, buys for the replay show don't come close to making up for the lost viewership. Did you know this happened? And anything about this that you remember?
No idea. It's crazy though. Listen, the blackouts that used to occur in the 90s though were huge. It used to happen a lot. Rolling blackouts were a big thing. Not really. You don't see that too much anymore anywhere. And so I can totally see it happen and it's totally understandable. But I don't know. It worked great for me.
But the crazy part is, BR Live, we had our issues with it. There's been a lot of complaints with the AEW pay-per-views on BR Live and all that stuff. But you were at the mercy of these cable companies on the phone waiting to let them in because it wasn't digital. You couldn't just click order. Someone had to process your order, a human being. It wasn't digital. It needed to go through your cable. Unless you had one of those black boxes that you could watch the pay-per-views, and some of us did, you had to be at the mercy for what was it, $29.99 to watch this pay-per-view. And if they couldn't answer your call, you couldn't get it ordered.
Yeah, no, I could listen. I could see the pandemonium happening right now, especially with these numbers that you're seeing on these ratings, man. Imagine getting a call volume of 4.9 million people calling you, saying, "Where the hell is my Hog Wild, man?"
Give me my Hog Wild. I need it right now. So you and I talked about the setting being a positive. Dave Meltzer was not a fan of the MGM studio tapings, talking about how it looked like a whatever little league game or whatever. He said, I disagree wholeheartedly with Meltzer. I also disagree with his sentiments about the show here in South Dakota. He had said another negative was the setting. The show was held outdoors with the ring on a platform well above the dirt ground, which cut down on a lot of the outside ring flying maneuvers. The crowd itself, which was estimated by those live at about 5,000, which was a free outdoor show. Although Bobby Heenan gave the figure at one point being 300,000, were not wrestling fans and clearly don't watch the television, as they had no idea what was going on most of the way. So two-parter, obviously the setting we talk about, I thought it added to it. It made it very, very unique, and I love unique shows. I think it aged really well. But again, they're catering to a fan base that doesn't like wrestling. But I think that's what made WCW and eventually WWF take off, because you're catering to the casual fan. You hear Vince Russo say every time he gets on a microphone, he talks about you have to get the casual fan back. And right now they're chilling at UFC. They're watching every pay-per-view. How do you get them back? How you get them back is you offer a free show in a unique environment, making people want to watch. Not everybody has to be a diehard reading the newsletter.
It's true. I loved the venue. I thought it was great. I mean, obviously, that Rey Mysterio Ultimo Dragon match, I didn't see any limitations for high flying shit going on there. It was really fun. I also love the dynamic of them falling off the platform potentially and landing in the dirt, and it looked great, man. I thought it was so awesome.
Even the entryway was awesome too. It just looked very like seeing Hollywood Hogan come down, and we'll talk about that match as we get to it. Seeing him come down with like the dirt coming, like, you know, the dust in the background.
Yeah.
It just was, it added to the grittiness of the New World Order and where they were going with the product. And I don't know, I think it aged really well. Maybe at the time I wouldn't have liked it, but it felt very authentic to what they were trying to do. And I loved it. Yeah.
And listen, the crowd was very attentive from what they from what I saw watching these back. The crowd was really into it for the most part. And I thought it was cool. I don't know where these casual fans aren't paying attention. Everybody was into it. The bikers were at the right spots, man. That was their applause. And maybe Meltzer just doesn't like South Dakota for some reason.
I think people, for me, a wrestling show, it's a live performance. So yes, you should know the backstory prior to going in, but you should also know what it is in a vacuum. You should be able to watch it and say, like, this is the good guy by his actions. This is the bad guy. If you're not doing that, clearly you're not doing your job and telling the story. So maybe it's not transcending and you're not doing a good enough job of telling the story. And I also think the fact that as casual fans that you have to explain things a little bit more thoroughly to them and make them understand, it makes the storytelling a little bit more thorough. And I think that's what's missing a lot from AEW. We talked about that. Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said about making sure everybody understands. You don't want to dumb it down to the point, but you also want to make sure everyone can get involved and understand what's going on in the ring. What are they trying to convey? Yeah. All right, so the fourth member of the NWO was scheduled to debut in the card, and as I mentioned, 123K was supposed to be the one, Sean Waltman. However, Titan has yet to send him his legal contractual release after agreeing to do so, with the belief they were simply just fucking with WCW. Waltman was at the show and ready to do whatever. That's my words, not Meltzer. I apologize. Waltman was at the show ready to do whatever, but WCW wouldn't allow him to be on the show without the release. Obviously, they're mired in a trial right now with lawsuits and all that stuff based on Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. But yeah, I mean, we see again pettiness. That's hashtag shot nostalgia pettiness. We see a lot of that within both companies. Yeah, absolutely. So there were also several complaints about Randy Savage not being at the event after he did several interviews talking about being there and attacking Hogan. Savage wasn't there at all. It was actually explained on Nitro the next week. Before that, Savage had traded his interview time on a pay-per-view for a future title shot. So unsure why he wasn't there. He didn't really say why, but his absence was pretty notable in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime there's no Macho Man on my screen, I'm feeling the madness, but not as in the good way. So we also had if Savage were to attack Hogan, this is what Meltzer said. If Savage was to attack Hogan before the match, it would risk turning Hogan babyface. Luckily, there was no risk involved at all in that one, since the crowd didn't watch wrestling on television. Hogan got a total babyface reaction during his entire match with the Giant anyway. On the positive side, the potential risk involved putting a 5-hour live television show on for a total biker audience, such as them getting mad and throwing bottles, which happened at the Bash of the Beach crowd. Didn't pan out. The audience didn't seem to have any idea what they were watching, and it was embarrassing. And that the only way who got any wrestler that got any kind of heel heat were Harlem Heat. And it was clear it was because they were black and nothing else, but the fans at all were unruly. This is Meltzer's words, not mine.
Did you feel that at all?
What was that?
Did you feel that while watching this back at all?
Not at all.
Not even slightly. I thought Harlem Heat was getting some cheers and shit, man. I didn't see. I didn't feel no heat, man. No, I thought it was a good show. I thought the crowd was actually really responsive and really into it.
I mean, going back to the fact that it is a long show and like it could wind up being not a riot, but you can get people that are not paying attention. There is some inherent risk of losing the attention of the audience, that they're not there for a wrestling show. They didn't pay for a ticket. It could get out of hand pretty quickly. So I guess there's an inherent risk when you have shows like that. But yeah, I mean, this is what Meltzer's saying about the show, and he's giving a lot of heat. I mean, that's a strong criticism to put on these people in South Dakota.
Yeah, I didn't feel. I'm just saying, going back on it, rewatching it, I didn't feel that at all. I thought for being the crowd it was, I thought they were still very responsive to the shit that was going on in the ring. Not for everything, but for the big matches. I mean, Rey Mysterio, Ultimo Dragon got good response. Harlem Heat Steiner's good response. The shit like that. Dean Malenko and Benoit, good fucking response. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, a lot of the noise disappears too. It's outside. There's no roof, obviously. It's out in a dirt field, so the noise disappears. And I thought they did a good job of keeping the crowd energized throughout the night. Yeah. That's a credit to what they were doing in the ring. But yeah, I mean, if anyone else recognized that there was some things going on in the crowd that maybe they weren't paying attention, I figured Hogan was getting cheered because people want to cheer Hogan being the bad guy. I think this is the start of what we see with, down the line. Go with any of the heels. The best heels get cheered. Roman Reigns right now is the most over guy in WWE, and he also is a heel, and he's doing dastardly things. People don't want to boo those guys. So, I mean,
Hogan's wearing all black. They're in a biker rally. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, fuck Hulk Hogan. They're cheering him because he looks like one of them. He's got the ripped shirt, brother. He's all tan. He's getting the beard coming in. He's got the bandana. He looks like he belongs at Sturgis. He's one of the. It's Hulk. Hulk is working for the people. It's what he always does, even when he's a heel. So I think Meltzer missed the boat on this one.
All right, so I agree with you, and I just had to mention it because he was very critical of the MGM taping. So I thought, well, I'm curious to see what he thinks about some of these pool parties. We'll see some of the other stuff. It's interesting to see what he thinks about this. And he's he's not really critical of the AEW side when they do different venues. So I don't know. He wasn't that critical of the Jericho Cruise. So I'm not sure. Maybe his tenor changed, or maybe he just
his palate grew. He it's one of those things he didn't know what he had until it was gone, right? So maybe he looks back fondly on these, but at the time he was just shitting on it because he had to shit on it. I don't know. It's so weird. I thought I love the whole atmosphere here. Even when the lights go out, the fireworks are going out. They had the helicopter view. Everything looks fucking sweet. Like it just had a really unique feel, really cool vibe to it, man.
It's so funny that there were 5,000 people there, and Bobby Heenan, I did recognize, he was like, 300,000 people have gathered here in Sturgis. Maybe they're talking about the whole weekend of Sturgis, South Dakota, where people came to the motorcycle rally. You don't know. 300,000 people. Let's just mark it down.
It was a big-ass crowd, though. The views of it looked spectacular. Like, I was even showing the family. They're like, wow, there's so many people at a wrestling show. I was like, yeah, right? Like, this is what it was. It was Hog Wild back in the 90s.
I have to go back and listen to 83 Weeks when Eric Bischoff talks about this. From what I understand, as a shoot, he took this bike from Atlanta to South Dakota, and he rode to get there. So I'm curious.
With some of the boys, like Mongo. I think it was everybody they showed in that little package. The Steiners were doing it. It was cool, man. And we all know Bischoff loves his hog.
For sure. I mean, he cut that promo, that's the most famous Bischoff promo where he challenges Vince to a fight, and then also the one on the hog. The two of them always stand out in my mind.
Yeah.
But the last part of the newsletter before we move on to Get You Fixed, before the pay-per-view was a 2-hour live WCW Saturday Night show. Because of the power failure on the West Coast, Meltzer had to get his feedback from somebody else, so maybe that also due to the fact that he couldn't hear it.
He's salty. That's it.
Yeah,
he's pissed off. He was on the phone with the cable operator. Fucking
he also talks about how people He was unable to tape parts of the show. He said people were trying to call in during the show to talk about it. They were unable to get to the answering machine. It wouldn't work and the messages couldn't be picked up. So Meltzer was all or out of sorts. So that probably
salty.
Look,
Yeah.
your beefs with Mother Nature, Dave Meltzer, not with Eric Bischoff.
It's true, man. The writing is on the wall.
So, maybe we'll get a happier Dave Meltzer next week in the newsletter, but that is happy hour. Let's move into Get Your Fix. We're going to talk about WCW Monday Nitro from August 5th, live from Orlando, Florida. All right, here we are. Get Your Fix. It's WCW Monday Nitro, August 5th, 1996 from Orlando, Florida, Disney MGM Studios, which is becoming quite the home. It felt like it's like pandemic era AEW where they're coming from Jacksonville, where it just feels like it's home base.
Yeah, I mean, we spent a good couple months there. We're having a good time. We're enjoying it. I enjoy it.
So we got a current WCW champs were as follow. We have the world champion is still the Giant, but not for long, baby. WCW US champion RIC FLAIR, he won it back on July 7th. The tag team champions are still Harlem Heat. They won it back on the 27th. Again, they swapped on a house show with the Steiners the week prior, if you guys remember that when we did the show with Chad. And the WCW World Television champion is still Lex Luger. Cruiserweight champion is Rey Mysterio, won it back on the 8th of July. Have we seen the television title defended? We have not, right? It's been just all
Lex is just in his own little space. He's hanging out on my desk right now. He's just living the dream. No titles. He's ready to stop away. Yeah, look at him. He's putting my feelings in a torture rack right now. No, he's not doing shit.
Complete side note: I watched the A&E documentary with Lex Luger from a couple years ago.
Yeah,
very, very well done.
I heard the other ones were not as well done as Lex Luger's was, but that's here and there.
Yeah. So hour number one, our hosts are Tony Schiavone and Larry Zbyszko. They go over the fact that WCW security has been more than lackluster. So after last week's NWO shenanigans, the WCW wrestlers themselves decide to run security tonight. So we have Faces of Fear, which is Barbarian Haku, Big Bubba, and then Scott Norton come down in security shirts. I kind of like this. This felt like, all right, come get through us, guys. We're the security for the night. Yeah,
no, it was cool. It was unique. Not something you would normally see. Imagine if they pulled this off when Wardlow was just chucking security around. It was like Lance Archer shows up. He's like, no, not tonight, kid. Like, it would be cool.
We also had the empty chairs again, 4 of them, in fact, in the front row. And
yeah,
it's either NWO waiting for their seats or a small family coming back from a bathroom break or buying merch or buying a hot dog.
Or they left it with the Splash Mountain.
Don't tune to Raw. You want to see what's going on with the 4 chairs, which I don't think we ever get any closure on the chairs, right? Nothing ever happens with them. They just
Okay. Yeah, I think at some point Sting and Luger come down and sit in them, but that's it. They're like, yeah,
So I'll start with the opening match here. We have the WCW World Tag Team Champions on the line, Harlem Heat with Sister Sherry and Colonel Rob Parker taking on Rock and Roll Express. Parker and Sherry are very distracting in this match. They are madly in love. I describe it as the Lonely Island song. We just had sex. They seem like they're all over each other. This match was pretty good. Rock and Roll Express somehow look older here than they did back. I don't know. They're on the indies now. I just saw them like a month ago, 2 months ago. They look older here. Is that weird? Like
it's Ricky Morton and the name escapes me, but Bobby Eaton, right? Am I wrong about that? Yeah, Bobby Gibson. God damn it! There we go. So yeah, I mean they're timeless gentlemen. I think like a fine wine, they only get better with age. So I think they've actually reversed time, went back. They did their shot of nostalgia. They're 1985 now. They're in 96. They were in 2012. You know.
That's some Scott Steiner math for you guys.
God damn it, Bill.
So this match is, stereotypical tag match here. We get both. We get the hot tags. We get back and forth action. Obviously we know the Rock and Roll Express are not taking the titles from Harlem Heat. We have the ending, see a double drop kick to Booker T. Sherry claws at Gibson and gets thrown away, and Colonel Parker comes out of her defense and gets knocked out off the apron. Once that's over, Gibson turns around into a bicycle kick from Stevie Ray as Booker covers for the 3. Match was 8 minutes and 26 seconds in total. The Heat are obviously getting ready to face the Steiners at Hog Wild. I mean, the thing is, the match was just there. It was a good opening match. I like to see Rock and Roll Express because it's kind of a change of pace. You don't really see them that often. This is about the third time we've seen them on Nitro in 96.
Yeah. No, listen, I loved the idea of this match. I don't like the how it was completely done. It wasn't the best match on either team's end. And like you said, Sherry and Parker, they're just too distracting. It's too much, especially in that first match. We need some good hard-hitting wrestling. Goddamn.
Very late 80s, early 90s Southern wrestling is Colonel Rob Parker with, being the big Texan money mogul coming out to the ring, smoking a cigar with the cowboy hat. It's an antiquated gimmick. It's absolutely horrendous. The connection with Sherry at Harlem Heat, I don't understand it. They're on and off. She's not always managing the tag champs. Colonel Parker, go back to the first episode of Shot Nostalgia. Sherry is involved in that stuff. So this has sort of been the bane of our existence, and get rid of it at this point. I think at this point, Stevie Ray and Booker T can stand on their own. They don't need a manager by any means. They don't need these guys at ringside. What does this add to the match? I know it's sports entertainment and all that stuff. It adds nothing to the match.
Absolutely nothing. Just
So we have Gene Okerlund in the back and interviews the Nasty Boys. And this was an interesting interview because they asked the Nasty Boys about their history with Hulk Hogan and what do they think about what happened. They pretty much said they don't stand with WCW. They don't stand with NWO. They stand by themselves. So Lex Luger comes out and says he'll make it their business tonight in the main event. Nasty say they don't condone what Hogan did, but they won't say there's anything wrong with it either. So, Nasty Boys, I know they're real life friends. You see them all the time on Instagram with, they're good. Reason the Nasties are there because Hulk Hogan, let's be honest.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It even happened in TNA. They brought the Nasty Boys in. How fucked up was that?
I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't realize that.
Oh.
So we have a Blood Runs Cold Ed. They have Glacier doing some ridiculous karate moves. It was supposed to be July 1996. I think we're not going to get him until next month. I think we will finally get Ray Lloyd in all his glory and Sub-Zero glory here. But, I mean, it's too little too late. We're getting reality-based program with Hogan and NWO calling the cops and ambulance and all that stuff. And we're going to get a ninja from the early 90s coming into this fray.
Could you imagine if Glacier was the guy that stopped the NWO? Came in, froze Kevin Nash, and just fucking uppercuts him. Oh man, I love Glacier. My blood runs cold all the time.
Before I let you take the match with Malia Hisaka and Medusa, I'm going to go into the commercial here. They got some merch, so want to make note of the Hog Wild denim jacket that's being sold for a ridiculous $89.95 plus $9.95 shipping and handling. And they mentioned if you're a cheapskate, you go for the shirt for $21.95 with the Hog Wild. I sent it to you on eBay. I think $60. It's a little faded, but you get the actual event shirt for half the price, all double the price at this point, but not a bad price. $60, $28 for a t-shirt back in the day. That's 2022 prices. Highway robbery.
That was television prices. Like, you call that number right now and you can order yourself a Hog Wild t-shirt.
I kind of like it and I want it so badly right now.
It would be nice. I'm missing the denim right now. I feel naked with my Major Wrestling Figure Podcast whiskey shirt.
I just had to mention the commercial because it was
great.
I wonder what it costs. Maybe like $40, $50 for a denim jacket. No, $100 for a denim jacket. That was a lot of freaking money. We can look it up with inflation what the difference is, but it's got to be close to like $170, right? That's a lot of money.
No, easily. And you're talking you had to pay a pay-per-view price for the t-shirt. That's fucking insane.
Yeah, merch sales is not how you defeat WWF, guys. You got to get the merch out there. I always look at this I remember, and this is a completely side topic, but when the New York Football Club came to the Yankee Stadium and they were entering the MLS, they gave away merch just to kind of infiltrate the city, make people wear the shirts. That's kind of what you have to do at wrestling. When you're wearing a wrestling shirt, people are like, oh, they check it out and they're like, oh, what is that? It's like free advertising. Why would you just give the shirt out? Why would you sell it for $100? Give it out for free.
Imagine if everybody in that Hog Wild crowd was rocking it. It would have looked a little weird, but awesome at the same time.
Or some of these guys in Sturgis, South Dakota, they're at a bar later in the weekend or later in the week. They're wearing one of the jackets. Like, what is that? Oh, WCW Hog Wild. Oh, they had the event here. Cool. I'm going to check out their product. They got a guy who's badass on a bike? Hell yeah,
Yeah.
I'm about watching that.
About according to Bobby Heenan, 300,000 Bam Bam Bigelows in the crowd, right? Just ready with their cut off sleeve Hog Wild shirts, like, yeah, WCW's in town, man.
So amazing.
I love it.
All right,
well,
so
let's get into it. I can just say I'm so happy to see normal women's wrestling on TV at this time, as opposed to bra and panty matches, which came later, obviously. But still, Medusa, this was a very match. Really was. It was kind of setting up the pay-per-view match a little bit more, I thought. Just nothing spectacular. 4 minutes too long. Don't really give a shit about Sonny Uno or any of his happenings here. It was just a blah match. Let's pan to the limo.
I just thought it was weird that Medusa lost going into the pay-per-view where she's defending her championship against Bull Nakano. She lost to this relative. I mean, this is a Japanese woman that she works in New Japan. Mali Hosaka is a relative unknown. Medusa loses. It was a weird booking in a short period of time too. It wasn't a long match, and it was pretty definitive that obviously Ono held down her legs, but she clearly got pinned. Yeah,
I mean, like I said, the biggest plus, the biggest takeaway of this is that they actually gave the girls time to shine, and it wasn't like go out there and wrestle in mud for fucking 10 minutes. It was just like go have a 4-minute match, enjoy it. And they did a good job. I didn't think it was a terrible match. Was not anything spectacular though.
Absolutely not. And I agree with you. We'll talk more about the Medusa match with at Hog Wild and all that stuff because they're setting up their match pretty well. And I think they're actually building, and it's the first time we're seeing any sort of build towards, a women's championship match, which is pretty cool. So Bull Nakano and Medusa will get it on at Hog Wild in our next show. We have the WCW Saturday Night commercial, and then we get a flashback to 3 weeks ago where Malenko comes out and posts Benoit to cost him a match with Eddie. Almost guarantee you the fact that they're going to do the same finish. It's like WCW booking 101. They're going to show you this, and it's going to happen again. And maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I love the three of these guys working together. Any combination of Malenko, Eddie, and Benoit was always magic.
Yeah.
Ed and Rey Mysterio with the four of them. I'm here for that. That's amazing.
Absolutely, man. The Rascals will live forever. I'm telling you.
So Benoit is taking on Alex Wright. Obviously, Benoit gets the win here. He comes to the ring with Woman and Elizabeth. The match goes 8 minutes and 20 seconds. To me, it's good to see them finally doing something feud-wise with Benoit and Malenko other than just showing off their abilities in one-off matches.
Yeah.
It was weird seeing Malenko do the dirty work for the Dungeon of Doom. Kind of some heel tendencies for Malenko, even though when the Face of Fear and Big Bubba are standing right there at ringside. That was a little bit of weird dynamic. The finish saw Woman apparently to bring Woman was apparently at ringside to bring her to Kevin Sullivan. Benoit sees what's happening and decides to Piscato down to Malenko to save Woman. They brawl to the back and give Alex Wright the biggest count out win of his life. So we do have a count out here. Decent match.
Yeah.
Alex Wright got some good got a good showing here. We had
that was my favorite Alex Wright match I think I've ever seen. He came out really strong, really hot at the beginning. It was fun. It was a good shit. I thought it was a really fun match, man.
So we also had obviously Jimmy Hart at ringside as well.
Daddy.
So Tony was announcing that Jimmy Hart promised Malenko that if he rids the world of Chris Benoit at Hog Wild, he'll make sure he gets a rematch for the Cruiserweight title against Rey Mysterio in the near future. So what I like about this is there's ramifications even for one-off matches between an Alex Wright and Chris Benoit. They're building some importance. They're hyping up on the announce table. This really was a good little piece of business they did here.
Yeah. No, I thought it was good. I thought it very, very well done. Very fun.
All right, so it is a count-out victory. So I miscalculated how many we had here. Good thing I went through the notes and found the count-out because we get to take our shot in nostalgia our first of the night.
I'm going to do a chug of nostalgia.
All right.
Cheers, my friend. To Alex Wright's best match in 1996.
Beautiful yellow tights, too. All right, so
you look good.
So the limo is still hanging out in the back of the building. 65 minutes into the left in the program, I should say. We have the limo back there, and we lead into Randy Savage versus Lord Steven Regal. And I'll let you take the lead. This is your guy.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, Lord Steven Regal. I don't like the British too often. All right, let me tell you that. You take the crumpets, shove it way up where the sun don't shine. I thought Macho Man was all over the place this episode. Besides the match itself, it was very decent, very your normal Macho Man Randy Savage. Good to see him in the ring with Regal, though. Really refreshing, really cool. But of course, Macho Man gets up to the top, hits you with that elbow drop. You can't kick out. It's a 1, 2, 3. The Macho Man takes the lead, baby. Yeah. This is good.
So Savage was banned from appearing at Hog Wild. They made sure to let us know that because they had said, and I quote, apparently he's too wild for Hog Wild. So this was a decent match, I thought. You did justice talking about the ending. Obviously, Macho's correct in getting the win here. But, Steven Regal held his own against Macho. The match went 6 minutes and 18 seconds. I mean, typical Savage match you're going to see taking 5 minutes of punishment and makes a short comeback before hitting the elbow drop. But, it makes Regal look good because Regal got a lot of good offense on Randy Savage. He's still a pillar of WCW.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we have hour number 2. Our hosts are Tony Schiavone and Larry Zbyszko still. Bischoff and Heenan never showed to this Nitro. They never came out.
I mean, Heenan eventually does, but
yes,
I did.
But I'm saying as far as like the way,
it's crazy, right? But I did want to mention that they finally did a countdown to hour 2. That was the first time we've seen that, right? With the dynamite on TNT.
Yep.
See, it all goes back full circle, man. So I did dig that, but yeah, no. Bischoff gone. They're laying it heavy on commentary. I don't know where the hell he is. He's usually here for production meetings. He was not in the back. It's crazy.
And the next is, it's not a match, but I'll let you take the lead on this with Sting and Luger heading over to the limo and finding the bouquet of flowers. Tell me what happens here and give me your take on it.
Yeah, no, so they're dying to figure out what's going on with this limo, right? They run back there, they're banging on it. They're like, "Come on, open up the fucking door. Give me the outsiders, brother." And Sting's already woo. He's just sitting there banging on his chest, ready to roll. Yeah. Looking for something, man. But the door opens and they're handed like a funeral bouquet of flowers, and with says condolences on the death of WCW, and the flowers actually look really nice. I could smell them from here. Yeah,
black and white too. Amazing,
beautiful looking. Yeah, really matching the Macho Man Randy Savage's gear, if you know what I mean. So yeah, they get this bouquet of flowers. Then the limo drives off. Crazy shit, right? How are you going to put the death of WCW on the bouquet and hand it to the top 2 guys? Well, the top guy and Lex Luger, the television champion that's not wrestling on television championship matches. It's crazy.
The Savage does field goal kick the flowers into the camera before the segment goes away.
This was the best. That was really good. So they set it up. Sting's in the ring. He's like, "We're here. We're not going anywhere." Macho Man's like, "Let me pump that all the way to the rafters." And Sting sets up like this Lucy from Charlie Brown kind of hold with the bouquet of flowers, and Macho Man gives it a nice kick. I think it was probably Schiavone. Schiavone's like, "Hey, hit on into the rafter." Yep. It was good. They're not letting these flowers dampen their style. There's no condolences tonight, okay? This Macho Man's punting shit away.
I thought this moment was cool, and it's a symbolic moment. I've never seen the highlight of this at all. Like, usually you see some of the main moments in WCW. Obviously, the lawn dart incident, you see the spray painting, you see all that. I've never seen this, and I thought it was very symbolic of what they were trying to do by killing WCW. And, nothing says that more than a bouquet of flowers meant for a funeral.
Dude, and this was the wonkiest Macho Man promo I've seen yet on WCW. He had some weird words going on. He was all over the place. It was great, though. It makes for good fucking television.
He's trying to search what he is right now. I think he's in kind of a limbo. Like, he's still coming off that Ric Flair Elizabeth. They're like, he's crazy. He can't be on TV, but except when you want to make a couple dollars on a house show, then he's good to go. But yeah, it's a weird dynamic for Savage, and I think he's sort of lost in the shuffle. That's okay. I mean, we see that sometimes, but it's still very entertaining to watch.
Yeah,
we're gonna see him in a big way in October because, as we talked about in the newsletter, guaranteed, no matter where they are in storyline wise, we have to get Savage versus Hogan because Slim Jim said so. So
I'm ready for that. Yeah.
So our next match here, we have the WCW US Heavyweight Champion RIC FLAIR with the ladies defeating the Booty Man, who came out with the Booty Babe. So we're about 5 days away from the end of the Booty Man gimmick. Everybody has to be happy about it. Kimberly Page is happy about it. We're happy about it. Hogan's happy about it. The fans are happy about it. This match goes 3 minutes. Obviously, Flair gets the win here, retains his championship. After the match, Arn Anderson comes in with the chair. He smashes it down on Booty's knee. It's an old-time Horseman massacre as they demolish Hulk Hogan's friend. Nice little shout-out to, they want to get, I guess, into Hogan's head, but obviously we'll see it in Hog Wild. Nobody gives a shit about Booty Man.
Nobody gives a shit about Booty Man.
Yes, this match was just there, but during the match, Bobby Heenan appears and puts the headset on, as we talked about. He comes on and he asks where Bischoff was. Like, we're supposed to know, Heenan. You're supposed to know.
Yeah.
So Heenan said, I've been standing in the back with my thumb up my ass. And he just,
He almost said thumb up his ass. He goes, thumb up my mouth. Yeah. Kudos. But then when the Horsemen rush the ring, he's done. He's like, fuck this, I'm out. Like, he throws his headset down. He walks in the back again. He goes home. Yeah. He was a smart man. This match sucked.
So following the match, Gene Okerlund came into the ring. We got a promo from Arn, which was a really good promo. I'd call it excellent. He pretty much, obviously the number one rule of gang fighting is that when somebody sends one of your boys to the hospital, you send one of their boys to the morgue. Benoit and Mongo talk about revenge. Flair stomps on Booty Man to send a message to Hogan. The Horsemen look freaking badass in this promo.
Yeah.
I think we are building up towards Fall Brawl, which is eventually going to have the Horsemen taken on the NWO, right? That's eventually where we're going to get. You have to build up another faction to rival New World Order, and I think the Horsemen's the perfect antidote, allegedly, for the New World Order. I mean, it's ready-made, and I'm really excited for it.
They are WCW, man. I loved the shades of early young Glock Anderson here.
Oh, yeah.
A street cred. He's like, I pull the fucking clock. He's feeling it, man. Yeah.
So before we move into the World Heavyweight Championship match, we have the announcement being paid for by the New World Order. So we have Outsiders and Hogan.
Oh, yeah.
Hulk Hogan, as they were making fun of the WCW Elite. They're not talking about taking over anymore. They're talking about complete extermination. So they're more of the funeral vibe. Sting and Luger finally have enough. They tell director Craig Leathers to stop playing these advertisements, even though they've paid for the time. No more garbage on the air. Now let's go get some free Popeye Mountain Dew in Sting's trailer.
Woo!
Lex says he's down. Count me in. We got more Popeye Mountain Dew. I guess they're sponsored. Kevin Nash mentioned Popeye Mountain Dew the other day as well.
Yeah, listen. I mean, you got to.
In the 90s.
It was, man, and you got to pay the people that are paying you. So it was good endorsements there.
What's your go-to Popeye, Mike Belcaster? Do you have a go-to? Is it a banquet? You a banquet guy?
I'm a banquet guy. KFC's got a great Popeye. Fucking thing's ginormous, bigger than your fucking head, and I think it's like $4. I don't know how you got. I haven't had a good Popeye in a while. Banquet holds you over.
One of these episodes, we got to get a Mountain Dew and a Popeye.
I think it's the only right thing to do.
And you can write NWO and gravy on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Take the lead on the next match here with the Giant and Craig.
Oh, my goodness. You know me, my fandom of Sergeant Craig Pittman. I love it. The best thing about him is Teddy Long's there. Short and sweet. Big-ass choke slam. Puts it down. I mean, this is just a shit main event. Or not main event, but a world title match. But, yeah, big show of the Giant. Makes the big slam. Gets that 1, 2, 3. Can we get rid of Craig Pittman? Does he have to be on my TV, man?
Please, can we get rid of him?
Yeah, just like, please. Sorry if you're watching, man. I'm just not a big fan. He did not do me justice. So, yeah, then Okerlund gets in that interview stance again, getting ready. Giant's just ready to fuck Hogan up, just ready to rip and tear him up. So we're going to see him at Hog Wild, brother. I'm excited for it. It was good stuff. And nothing happened by the limo. Yeah.
Hogan, if you have any guts, I dare you to show up at Hog Wild. I'll show you then. Still going on by the Limo, as you mentioned. And we have our main event here. I'll let you take the lead in the main event because you got that small little segment for that match. Take the lead on Luger.
Yeah,
On the Nasty Boys.
This was actually not a bad Nasty Boys match, but it was not a good tag team match, which it just tells you how bad the Nasty Boys are. A lot of back and forth, a lot of sloppy shit on the Nasty Boys, and I'm so over them. And we're not even fans in the moment right now. I couldn't imagine how pissed I was about the Nasty Boys back when I was a kid. It just I must have blacked it out like some childhood trauma. But for real, in the match, listen, thank God Sting gets the win with the Scorpion Deathlock, as Vince Russo likes to call it. The Scorpion Lock. It's the best. 7 minutes, 5 seconds. It was a decent main event. Nothing too fancy. So,
So after the break, Sting and Luger pose with the two youngsters. Are the outsiders in the limo this time? We'll find out. Sting and Luger and Dungeon Jim's the security team head over to the limo. When Sting opens, a black bag is thrown out. The door slams and the limo begins to leave. What's the deal with the bag? It's got the Turner logo on it, and we fade to black. So that's a way to end a Nitro as a go-home show. Like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
We never found out what happened with those 4 chairs.
There's Turner logo on the bag. As their volume slowly dips down, it was great, man. Nice.
You don't get enough cliffhangers in wrestling. Yeah, cliffhanger.
Never enough, man. WCW delivered. It was pandemonium going off the air, or like these really cryptic cliffhangers. I'm here for it.
With that being said, let's move over to WCW Hog Wild as we approach the hour mark. And remember, guys, at the end of this, stay tuned for Before Our Time with Nick Storm and Young Anthony. They're going to be reviewing WrestleMania 6. You're going to definitely want to hear what they have to say about it. Just leave it there. So at the end of this, about an hour from now, again, Before Our Time, just switch over to their feed. Stay with the Turnbuckle Tavern for Flashback Friday. But let's move into Hog Wild. August 10th, 1996, from Sturgis, South Dakota, from the Sturgis Bike Rally. All of our champions are the same. And we have our host, Tony Schiavone, Dusty Rhodes, Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan seems like either he's, let's just call it spade a spade. He's enjoying the juices and the party vibe. He's drinking. He's
having a shot of nostalgia, man.
He's had a few for sure. In the notes, I put increasingly inebriated from some alliteration.
I like it. That's why Bobby Heenan was my guy, man.
Yeah, so Bobby Heenan, I guess, in order to endure the fact he's wearing leather and everything that it goes with Dusty Rhodes' fupa, he has to drink to get by.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta love the fupas. We love the fupas.
We have our opening match: the WCW World Cruiserweight Champion Rey Mysterio taking on Ultimo Dragon. Lead your way here.
I'm just gonna come out. I'm not gonna go deep. You go fucking watch this. This was so good. This is how you kick off a show. Not like they kicked off Nitro. This was the best, man. You're talking a beautiful young Rey Mysterio rocking that super silk Spider-Man gear, looking great. Ultimo Dragon, just a good, awesome. We'll call it a spade a spade. This is a great cruiserweight match. Unbelievable stuff, especially in the atmosphere. I thought it was fantastic. I would have watched this for another 10 minutes. It was that fun to watch, man. But yeah, I mean, I love Ultimo Dragon. I don't think he gets enough love. I mean, everybody loves Ultimo Dragon, but I want to see more of him all the time. It was really good. It was 11 minutes. Your cruiserweight champion, Rey Mysterio, keeps the belt with the win, rocking that super springboard Hurricane Rana, man. Whew, that shit looked great. A lot of high-flying action out here, man. Good stuff.
Yeah, this was the pay-per-view debut for Ultimo Dragon, and you did a great job summing up the match. We did have Mike Tenay joining the 3 for commentary. He does an excellent job of introducing Ultimo Dragon. This is how you want to talk about announcers doing their job of making a relative unknown to a casual audience and understanding the importance. He talks about how Ultimo Dragon wasn't good enough for Inoki's New Japan Dojo. He went to Mexico for a while. Then New Japan came begging for him to come back to the motherland. We have, obviously, you mentioned the awesome Spider-Man tights from Rey. Cool aesthetic. What I want to say about Ultimo Dragon here, again, go out and watch this. They also talk about some credentials during the match. Tenay mentions Dragon recently defeated Justin Liger in only 2 minutes and 40 seconds in New Japan's J Crown Junior Heavyweight Tournament. Later on in the tournament, he also defeated the first Cruiserweight champion, Shijiro Otani. So a lot of history kind of building some reference and context into what Ultimo Dragon's capable of. And then finally, if you guys are really into Ultimo Dragon, don't stray too far off the path of 1996, but there are some great stuff further in 97. There is a great 3 series of pay-per-view matches between Rey and Ultimo Dragon. Obviously, the first one being here at Hog Wild 96. We also get one at World War III 96, which we will cover, and at Spring Stampede 97. So check out all those matches. They're increasingly better. This is probably the worst of them, but
it was still great.
It's still very, very good. To set the pace for a show, man, Ultimo Dragon, I don't think he gets the credit. I mean, he had that short period of time he was in WWE. He was at WrestleMania 20, believe it or not, in the Cruiserweight Invitational. But he definitely crazy. He also got a Jack specific figure too, if you guys remember that.
He did, and an exclusive. It was beautiful, man. I fucking love Ultimo Dragon. This, like I said, this was such a fun kickoff to the show, man. It was really, really fucking good, and I enjoyed it.
So next match, you have Scott Norton and Ice Train, kind of like, to pour some cold ice down the drain here. It's 5 minutes and 6 seconds. We got Norton stopping with the armbreaker DDT and applies the Fujiwara armbar for submission. So this has been a blood feud on TV. They, former tag team partners don't like each other anymore.
It's a mud feud. This is the shit.
It's not good at all. So
Ice Train came up all taped up. His boob was hanging out at some point. It was.
The thing that bothered me is that Scott Norton was talking about in all the promos leading up that he wanted Ice Train at 100%. Ice Train goes and gets in the Giant's face on Saturday when they show that, and he gets his ass beat by the Giant. So he comes in not at 100%. And obviously, his shoulders hurt, and that becomes the focus of the match. Ice Train hardly could defend himself. It just became a one-sided match, and I don't think it would have been good, but the fact that you were erring on the side of the injury made it even worse.
Yeah.
So they air what they could be see for free an hour earlier. Ric Flair's one-on-one interview. He didn't really care what the NWO was doing because it didn't concern the 4 Horsemen. That is until they attacked Arn Anderson. Again, building up towards Fall Brawl, setting the seeds. And also what's crazy too, we talk about the build for All Out and how lackluster it's been the last couple of pay-per-views. They're setting the seeds for Fall Brawl, which is happening more than a month from now.
Yeah.
They're getting ready.
How you going to do it? They're doing it at the pay-per-view. Like, nice nonchalant way. In between 2 shitty matches. it was like and great aesthetic. I love the seriousness. Those side shots of Ric Flair. He's sitting there like this, man. I don't like that NWO, man. And like it's just you're starting to feel it. You're starting to get ready. You're like, yeah, okay, let's fucking go, man. And Flair is obviously a great promo guy, but the aesthetic actually helped it a lot. It was really nice.
Hell yeah. And the next match is a rematch from SummerSlam 1994. Take the lead on it. Medusa and Bull Nakano.
Speaking of before our time, this was winner gets the beat up on the motorcycle. Was that an actual stipulation that I just not adherent to?
No, it was at the end. She started to peel things off the motorcycle at the end. It was not great. I mean,
no, this was bad. It was okay. The best thing about this match, and my God, did I love it. If Dusty Rhodes, she coming in with that nunchucks. She got them nunchucks. I forgot who said it. I think it was Bobby Heenan, but he goes, nunchucks actually Japanese for sledgehammer or something like that.
Exactly.
It's so stupid. It was great. Really shitty, okay match. It wasn't anything great. Medusa, 5 minutes. Thank God it was only that. Medusa got the win. She could barely break a motorcycle, let alone make me a fan. I was just like, eh. But yes, but Dusty Rhodes won just at 2 minutes into it with the nunchuck.
Yeah, the finish sucked too. Like she pulled the shoulder up and they counted 3 either way. Cheap finish.
Yeah.
All around not good. If you want to showcase your woman, showcase them. Give them some time and give them some. You don't have to do cheap gimmicks with the nunchucks and the matrix moves and the motorcycle.
Why did she get disqualified?
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
She should have, yeah.
She got nunchuck, man.
You're absolutely right. I don't know.
It's terrible.
Refs will use some discretion here. Maybe it's that shady referee Nick Patrick.
The fucker.
All right, the next match here, we have Chris Benoit taking on Dean Malenko. In this match, Man, this is the story that I mentioned on Nitro. Jimmy Hart's going to try and get Malenko a cruiserweight title rematch with Mysterio if he takes Benoit out of this match, since he's a sworn enemy of Dungeon of Doom. We have Nick Patrick, as I mentioned, the referee who's kind of revealed himself later in the night to turn evil. I looked out for this match knowing the fact that Nick Patrick was going to be turning a little bit full-blown heel. Let's go be honest about it. He turns full-blown heel at the end of the night.
Shady man.
I didn't see any tendencies. He was pretty consistent down the line. Nick Patrick becomes, a bad guy, but he was calling the match down the middle here.
Why is it? How come Nick Patrick's not in the Hall of Fame with the NWO?
He should be.
His shit,
Absolutely.
man. He's the fifth man.
For me, again, WWF kid growing up, I remember my first memory of Nick Patrick is him in that white goddamn shirt showing up on Raw. I'm like, who is this idiot?
Man, we have to cover at some point him screwing over. No, before WCW times, I'm pretty sure it's Sting. He screws over Sting. He becomes the NWO ref. That's that Nick Patrick's a fucking piece of shit, man.
Dude, yeah, I 100% want to. I mean, something about Nick Patrick's face that makes him a bad guy. No matter what, he's always going to be a bad guy.
That fucking mustache of his.
Dude, so this match was absolutely epic. It goes to a time limit draw, so inevitably we have to take a shot. But there are some amazing spots. We get a lot of near falls, which is key to a good match. Got the swan dive headbutt for 2. Benoit goes for the tombstone, but Malenko reverses into one of his own. Malenko continues to pull Benoit down for the pin. Goes to the Texas Cloverleaf. Benoit counters to a small package for 2. The ring announcer says there's 5 minutes left. They make sure to make us aware throughout the match. This is the one time of the night I noticed the crowd wasn't going as crazy as a normal WCW crowd would be. And I also credit to the fact, like I mentioned, it's outside. It's hard to keep the noise in.
It's fucking hot.
So the 20-minute time limit expired. Ref Nick Patrick comes in and says there must be a winner. So a 5-minute overtime period has been put into effect and the crowd is furious. Benoit really goes to work on the back now with a back suplex. They continue to go back and forth. We get back to the end. The Malenko maneuvers around in the STF. So he holds it in. Elizabeth distracts the ref while a woman puts her claws into Malenko's eyes to break the hold. Benoit sneaks a roll up and gets a 1-2-3. So this counts as a shot of nostalgia to me because originally it was a time limit draw. They get a finish. Maybe I was just desperate to get a shot in with you. But before we take the shot, a phenomenal match. One of the better matches you're going to see on pay-per-view ever. 28 minutes and 10 seconds. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting that they booked a 30-minute wrestling match in front of casual fans, but that's what they did. Maybe Benoit and Malenko can't help themselves. They just go out there and do their thing. Listen,
though, but I mean, if you weren't a fan of either man beforehand, watch this match. You see how intense they get with each other. And we do know that they're good friends, but they beat the piss out of each other for 30 minutes here, and it's fantastic. Like, absolutely fantastic. I think this is definitely, between this and the first match so far, standout match to the card. Unbelievable.
So the other thing is just to mention, just to kind of pair what the crowd was feeling, there was a second time limit draw in between. So, and the crowd was getting a little bit upset about this. They wanted the match to be over. I guess for whatever reason, they were not appreciating a good wrestling match like this. But even in 96, I don't think this technical wrestling style resonates the same way it does today. I compare this match was very akin to the match we saw on Dynamite with Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia. Just hard-hitting action, minus the blood, obviously.
Yeah.
So with Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia, but hard-hitting action that any era of wrestling would be appreciative of, except if you're a Sturgis crowd. I just think they didn't like it.
Yeah, they were waiting for Harlem Heat to come out there so they could be ignorant as shit to them.
Exactly. All right, let's take a shot of nostalgia for the 2 time limit draws, but we do eventually get a finish.
Woo!
I'm absolutely glad that they booked this match. It was interesting that in the back they were saying, for these casual fans, you know what they'll like in the hot weather, waiting for the main event in the tag title match? Let's book a 30-minute match that goes to the limit. I loved it.
I loved it.
Interesting booking decision.
Yes, but I mean, it really held the rails down for. It really cleaned up the mess that Medusa put out there, especially not destroying that bike. Sonny Ono still crying about it, and it was nice, refreshing, especially for the pay-per-view feed. So I don't know. Again, weird decision. Yes, great fucking match.
Next match here, I'll let you take the lead on this. Before we start, Bobby Heenan is absolutely hammered in this match. If you're listening to this, he talks about how he loves Dusty Rhodes. He's talking about the crowd. He's talking about anything but going on in the match, and he's trying to make insults to people, and he can't even make any coherent insults. So go back and listen to this. Bobby Heenan.
Yes.
We thought he was drunk at Super Brawl 5. He was buzzed.
Absolutely. It was actually very entertaining, though. Nothing short of just miraculously great time. Talk about a fucking banger. This was another really good match on the card, man. Harlem Heat, tag team champions, going after Rick and Scott Steiner. Really good hard-hitting back and forth action up until the fucking end. They ruined such a beautiful match by that double powder spot with fucking Parker and Sherry get involved. They throw powder at, was it Booker T's face, right?
Yeah.
So then Booker gets the tasting it, making sure it's not cocaine because they are in Sturgis. He was like, "Oh no, my eyes, shit!" And then they get Scott Steiner in, and then Parker hits Steiner in the head with the fucking cane, and I just didn't see the purpose of the finish. They fucked a really good match up with this bad finish. So, but I'm going to tell you, it was a really, really fucking great tag team match, man. Up until that point.
Yeah, I mean, 17 minutes and 53 seconds. They went back and forth. Both teams looked really strong. I thought it was a good match. We saw some of the classic Booker T spots. He actually hit the Spinneroonie to get up at one point. I think it's probably we've seen a few times. He does it as a transition move, similar to like the kick up or the tip up by Shawn Michaels to get up from when he's down. The jumping heel kick. Booker T, he really shined in this match. You could see the eventual main eventer he'd become, where he would carry WCW in the later years. Same thing. I mean, Scott Steiner, he's emerging, but Booker T really was the shining star in this match. He was great. He looked like a main event. He was the brightest star in this whole match.
Yeah, and I mean, Harlem Heat, those are two really big dudes. They're manhandling the Steiners at one point here. It looked great, man. Like you could see why they are the tag team champions of the time right now. And I thought it was a fantastic match, man.
So speaking of fantastic match, let's go into another one. WCW US champion Ric Flair taking on Eddie Guerrero, sort of a dream match. And I like how they built this feud up, really emphasizing, can Eddie Guerrero pull the trigger and beat Flair? That's the question everybody's asking. Eddie's all fired up to start and gets in a shoving match with Flair. He's on the same level as Flair. It feels like they're booking him. And I didn't realize that WCW did this. This is a lot of the Eddie we saw in 2003, 2004 on his main event run, eventually beating Lesnar and feuding with Angle and being the guy on SmackDown. Yeah. I see a lot of that Eddie in him here. Man, this was a great match. Flair has the ability to make everybody look like $1 million. We talk about Flair in excess here on Shot Nostalgia because of the fact that he is WCW. He is the guy carrying the banner. When you think about WCW or WCW World, the big gold belt, you think of Ric Flair. And it's not because he's the champ. It's not because he's going out there and going to business for himself. He makes stars, man. And I'm just watching this match at 14 minutes and 16 seconds. Even though Flair came out on top, he gave Eddie Guerrero everything and made him look so good. The frog splash looked like it killed somebody. Just really emphasized the fact that Eddie Guerrero is on the rise. I mean, you talked about this missed opportunities. Eddie Guerrero might be one of the biggest missed opportunities in WCW's lap. Yeah. They had a transcendent star with the personality and the charisma and the in-ring ability to put on a program with Ric Flair. Can you imagine what it would be like, say 97, when you're going to pull the trigger? The eventual succession from the U.S. title would be the world title. Have Eddie Guerrero transfer over to, the main event and wrestle guys like Hogan, like Nash, being able to Scott Hall for the world championship and be able to be involved in that. And it would just kind of change the trajectory of what's going on in WCW, because young talent is what they're not able to pull the trigger on. And Eddie's one of those examples. Absolutely.
And like you could hear it. The Sturgis crowd was huge on Eddie. They were chanting his name. They were singing it, Eddie looked like $1 million here. And thanks to Flair, but no thanks to Flair. I mean, Eddie always looks like $1 million, but I mean, Flair obviously oversold how good of a match it was going to be. It came out fantastic, man. I really enjoyed it. And how many times do you really see somebody win by pin in the figure four? It doesn't happen often.
Right.
It's only Jeff Jarrett and Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, I mean, technically, Flair was pinned in the figure four in his last match, but let's not go there. Couldn't get up.
It was the other way around. It's okay. He was dehydrated. It's all good. But yeah, too many shots of nostalgia for Flair the night before.
We saw some funny spots at Flair here. You know, his tights coming down. We see Flair's ass for a bit.
Always get a pop out of that.
Similar to Shawn Michaels. This probably 96 Shawn Michaels showing his ass all the time. So for some reason, it's always peppered into the matches. But built with some of the silliness, like we talked about with the silly Flair spots, but also Eddie's offense looking like $1 million, as you mentioned, and Flair's offense looking good. But Flair selling everything that Eddie does and making it look so powerful. Man, we got sunset flips, we got an O'Connor roll, we got the frog splash, we got the figure four. We got Flair cheating all over the place, eye pokes, low blows, everything you can ask for. Perfect match, man. I loved it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was fun to watch, too. And Flair still, one thing I noticed a lot through this match, Flair still has that, young Flair build with his body. And he was taking those chops from Eddie just as bad as Flair gives those chops. Fuck it, he was selling the shit out of him. Eddie was giving them to him too. There was no hiding it, man. You heard that shit. You felt it. You're like, woo, man. So fucking couldn't pick two better guys to go after each other. I really enjoyed the shit out of it.
It's amazing to me. Obviously, we are still 4 years removed from him getting to WWF and then perpetually booking him in the mid card in 2000, where, obviously he's IC champion, he's European champion, they get him mixed up in the China storyline. It takes them forever to get into the main event. People know the story, but obviously they're looking for a Mexican star to be involved in the main event. Eddie Guerrero happened to be right place, right time. He popped a big rating on SmackDown for some reason, and that's why they decided to pull the trigger and put him against Lesnar and win the title. And obviously the rest is history. They actually gave him the chance to shine.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that they didn't know what they had from the beginning. It was quite clear that he was ready better than any of the workers going on in the world. He can go into WWF at this moment and he would wrestle circles around a guy like Shawn Michaels. I truly believe that. Eddie Guerrero he's so good. And I don't think he ever really, it seems like it happens overnight in 2004, I guess is what I'm saying. But it was quite apparent here. He was ready even in 96.
No, absolutely, and you could see it in a lot of his matches here. He's top tier fucking talent, man. And promos, we see it in the Nitro we just talked about. We see it here, he's just that goddamn good, and it's insane that it took anybody that long enough to book him like a champion he was.
Yeah, and obviously he was a smaller guy, not a small guy, but similar to Macho Man, where he carries himself bigger than his height. He puts on a lot of muscle in 2004 to get Vince's attention. Same thing, Benoit, Ray. They all did that to get under Vince's good graces. I think also, going back to Eddie and talking about his debut in WWF, he did tear his shoulder out that first frog splash when the Radicals debuted. So that might have been, how Vince is with the injuries, like Finn Balor got hurt. He's never been seen again as far as main eventers go. So maybe that's something about Eddie. I think maybe Eddie hurt his shoulder twice, if I had to go back and look at it. I know he hurt it the first time. He was out a significant amount of time. So who knows what the plans were? Either way, it feels like in 96, man, goddamn, he's so ready and so good, so polished in the ring.
Yep. Somebody strap a fucking rocket to and just let him go do his thing, man. Crazy.
It just took so long for people to appreciate him. And I know people that were watching WCW, the Chads, are listening to this right now. We've always fucking loved Eddie, no matter what. We've been watching WCW, but for the WWF-centric people that have been watching, when Eddie came in, he was in the faction. Then obviously I mentioned he started doing the China stuff, involved in think about WrestleMania 17. He wrestles Test.
Yeah,
we eventually would have WrestleMania 18. No, I don't even know what he does WrestleMania 18 and WrestleMania. I think maybe he's hurt, and then WrestleMania 19 he's involved in a tag match. So it takes until WrestleMania 20 for him to eventually become the world champion and defend his title at MSG. I don't know. I'm just spinning in circles about this, but I freaking love Eddie Guerrero. Listen,
man, he's the greatest of all time. Literally one of the greatest of all time. Ever to step to a fucking ring, ever to lace up the boots. He's always entertaining, sometimes overly entertaining to a point where it was just gut laughing, fucking fun. Unbelievable worker in the ring, great on the mic, great selling shit, really selling shit, like the victory when he won that title, man. Like, it's something that like lasts in the back of my brain probably until the day I die. The confetti coming down. Oh yeah, he's holding, you know, squeezing, holding the belt. It's like it's so poetic. You know,
I remember where I was watching that event, and I couldn't freaking believe when he beat Lesnar. I couldn't believe it.
Who would?
No one expected that going into WrestleMania. It was like supposed to be just like defense for Lesnar, going to get Goldberg, Lesnar for the title, and instead you get Eddie Guerrero. It's like, it blew my mind.
Yeah, it was amazing, man.
Awesome.
Love Eddie.
Yeah, me too, man. Gone too soon. I mean, think about what he'd be doing now with the crop of talent we have around. So
shit, he'd be in AEW. You got to learn how to roll, man.
Exactly. All right, take the lead on this one. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash taking on Sting and Lex Luger.
There you go. Yeah, awesome. You can't really get. This match made me realize how much I missed seeing the Outsiders work. Like, for real, missed the Outsiders work. They had such a unique vibe when they were wrestling. Like, even with the rock paper scissors, you know. Oh, let's go 1, 2, 3. Ooh, yeah, you know. But it was really good back and forth, fun. It wasn't like the best match on the card. But, I mean, we've seen a lot of good work. We got the Outsiders Edge. We got the Scorpion Deathlock. We got everything you needed from a match with these four gentlemen. But then that son of a bitch, Nick Patrick, does that 1, 2, 3 fast count. And the Outsiders won in a 15-minute match. I thought it was decent. It wasn't you can't compare this to the Steiners match earlier. That was a great tag match. This was like a storied tag match, the bad guys versus the WCW guys. It was okay. It wasn't great. Nick Patrick is a cocksucker.
Yeah. Slippery slope. He's starting to become that NWO's personal referee in their back pocket. But
crony.
You said it best. I mean, it's a storytelling match. It's a mechanism to further the story with the New World Order. It wasn't about the in-ring work, but also what I was watching in this, I had to remember that Kevin Nash was only a year removed from being Diesel, or not even a year removed, months removed from being Diesel in WWF, and the difference between Nash and the charisma and his facial expressions and just how easily he carries himself in the ring as Kevin Nash compared to Diesel. I'm not saying I didn't like Diesel, but it was so robotic and not him. The authentic Kevin Nash came out. Like, you could just tell he's having the time of his life with his best friend in the world in the middle of the ring. This, you know, that was what
it's
I
night
pulled
and
from
day.
this match.
No, absolutely. That's what I mean. This match really made me I miss seeing the Outsiders work. I miss Scott Hall and Kevin Nash because obviously Scott Hall's not Razor Ramon here. Kevin Nash is a Diesel. You see full blown character coming out of both guys as they're working, you know, and it's so fun. Like you said, Nash, you can see the difference. It's a completely fucking different era, and Nash is having fun. You know, you can see him enjoying himself while he's doing shit out there. It's just, oh man, I love it.
Even the Nash gear is cool, like the red singlet with the red pants. They look badass. And then the music, everything about, they're just cool. Like, they're very cool. It's like exactly what they probably wanted Diesel to be, but like Kevin Nash was already that in his real life. Like, why did you have to book him as this truck driver guy, whatever? Like, he was already goddamn cool. He's the coolest. He's probably the coolest guy in wrestling, if we're being honest.
Yeah, it's oozing machismo, bro.
he's so charismatic and has the ability to charm. He's charming. Like, that's Kevin Nash. He's charming. But he's a bad guy. He's charming.
You really see it. That last run for Diesel and Razor in WWF, and then you watch this match. Like, it's like watching four different wrestlers work. Really is. And Razor, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, they're out here having a great time. That makes me happy when I see shit like that, especially in retrospect. These guys were the class of cool, man. You wanted to be like anybody when you were a kid? Oh, I want to be like the Outsiders. I'll put the hair down, you know, I'll fucking slick back toothpicks. I used to bring toothpicks to school. They fucking had to call my parents because I'd be like fucking at people and shit like that. Be like, what up, Chico? And like, it's like, what? I'm nowhere near anywhere that cool.
You're pretty damn cool, but I mean, I don't think anyone's Scott Hall. No, we need a Michael Buffer bumper. So, Chad, I think we're gonna text you for the main event of the pay-per-views. We need
Ladies and gentlemen,
Ladies and
let's get ready to rumble.
That's
So good. So good.
We have the WCW World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Hollywood Hogan taking on the Giant. This match has a lot of build to it. Obviously, it's billed as WCW versus New World Order. The Giant defending the turf of WCW. Match goes 14 minutes and 57 seconds. Much to do about nothing. Again, one of those storyline-driven matches that felt very slow and methodical, and that's not a bad thing, but per se. But Hogan getting a lot of cheers because we mentioned before, very NWO crowd.
It's the Sturgis crew, man. Yeah, look at me. I look like I'm one of them right now. We're here. We wanted two Sweden wives coming out. We want to play guitar on our belts. He didn't have the belt yet. He wasn't doing that, but we felt it. We wanted to do it. You're like, yeah, brother. This match was super slow.
Shady finishes. Yeah, we get a lot of shady finishes throughout this night. And this is probably the shadiest of them all. The referee just turns a blind eye, obviously. Hall and Nash come out. They both receive choke slams. Hogan heads to the floor and grabs the world title, hits the Giant, goes down, gets covered. Got a huge baby face pop for the championship win.
Yeah, but I mean, he uses the title with Jimmy Hart's megaphone's literally next to him as he gets into the ring.
That's true. Yeah.
He's like, oh shit, let me go get the belt. Which I mean, you get the aesthetic, especially when they're spray painting the NWO on the belt. Like, of course, you had to have the belt in the finish, right? That's part of the whole thing. It's not a prop; it's a title. It's it's great. But it was very, very drawn out match. It felt like it was like a half hour. Maybe longer. Like, it was just like, holy shit, man. But the biggest payoff of this entire pay-per-view came after this match. And that's when the Booty Man comes out looking like a Horace Hogan. He's going to get out the hair. He's ready to roll, man. He's got the NWO shirt on. Badass NWO shirt, too, by the way. Hogan's aesthetic, Hogan's presence here was fucking legit. Comes out, he's got that Terminator, the NWO spray painted on it. Just looked like a badass. Gets in there, doesn't even do the full rip. He like rips it like this, and he just like, fuck it, I'm Hulk Hogan, I'm out. And so Booty Man comes out. He's got a happy birthday Hulk Hogan cake, and they grab him, and Hogan fucking beats the piss out of him. They're all just taking shots at him. If you think that I'm going to do this to my best friend, imagine what I'm going to do to you, brother. I mean, like, it's just a tale of test that stands the test of time. Hulk Hogan being a bad guy works. So good. So good. Fuck Booty Man. Fuck Disciple. Fuck them all, man.
I was texting you as I was watching this. I'm like, don't tell me Booty Man join, because I know eventually he does join. Right? I mean, down the line. And I was like, don't tell me he joins right now. And I didn't even know. And I was panicking in real time. Like, I cannot believe they're doing this bullshit right now. He's the fourth. And I was so pumped when Hogan attacked him. And finally, they take the title. They spray paint it with the NWO classic. It's become a classic look at this point.
Yeah.
You can buy the title with the spray paint. Very historic.
It's in the games. It's all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. They've wrestled, I think, at 3 pay-per-view matches, the Giant and Hogan. This has to be their worst, but the post-match stuff is the most memorable, especially if you're a fan of the NWO. This is compilation stuff. Like, you need to see this. This is the first time they spray paint the title. They're taking over. And especially at the Sturgis crowd, it's like the setting really sets it in. It feels like a home turf for the NWO.
Yeah, no, it was like that. That was the best part about it was the aftermath. It really picked up when Hall and Nash kind of came in and started doing the run-in on him. And then, but like, it was short-lived because the Giant just choke slams them both. It's like, fuck yeah, doing this Chewbacca fucking roar, and then Hogan just cracks him in the. There was a lot of weird spots in this match too, like that. Like, the belt takes out the Giant like that, but Hogan did the hair pull. Do you remember that, where they were in the arm lock, and Hogan's just like, yeah, boom, and the Giant just falls on the ground. It's like, what the fuck did I just miss it? Like, what was that?
It's weird too. You and I were talking off air. It feels like the Giant is kind of torn into who he should be. I think there's some influence, obviously, from Andre, and wants to work like a big guy, but also so athletic. There's so much more he can do than just working that stiff style. So I think he's always torn between who to be. And I think we don't actually see the Giant become into his own until like mid 2000s, 2003 is when he's doing that feud with Lesnar, where he finally gets the hang of being who he is. I think he's the most athletic he's ever been at this point. he's still so young. He doesn't actually know what kind of style of wrestling he wants to just do consistently. And Hogan himself is not the best dance partner as far as carrying a match. So it had all the fixins to be something that wasn't as good. I didn't go in expecting this to be a Dean Malenko versus Chris Benoit classic, but
No,
I expected a little bit better, especially
with
Hogan at this time. Yeah.
Well, even the Giant's been on a really good run lately. He's had some great matches this year, and it was just weird. I guess the hard thing is Hogan is kind of being his mentor guy, and I wrestled Andre, brother. I picked him up at body slam him at the silver toe, and he's probably oh, well, we got to work some big man spots. It felt kind of slows things down. A lot of fucking Hogan teasing, going to the ring, walking back away from the ring, going to the ring. It was very drawn out. It wasn't the worst shit in the world, but I did love when the Giant starts hulking up. Very underrated spot there, and he starts doing the "yeah, brother," and then he actually fucking throws him in the ropes, hits him with not the big boot, the big foot, as the commentary team kept calling it. It drove me nuts. I'm it's a big foot, and I was God damn it, that's so hokey. But there were some good spots in it, but it was very drawn out. It was you're running on that little bit of paint left, and you're we got a wall left. Let's come on, we're gonna paint the house with it's just eh. But it wasn't terrible. Again, the aftermath, chef's kiss, fuck Beefcake with his scissors.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. I mean, there's a lot. If this is worth going back and watching, a lot of gems on this. We talked about the Ultimo Dragon, Rey Mysterio match, also the Dean Malenko and Benoit match. This is a show that you should go back and watch in full. Anything involved with the NWO isn't really concerning work rate. We're not going to sit here and talk about 5-star matches with them. It's about story, the dominance of the New World Order, and how they're taking over and nobody's standing in their way. And now they got shady referee Nick Patrick in their pocket. Who can stop them? The story is beautiful. It's building and building. It's crescendoing into a really good fall. We're about to move into Fall Brawl. That's our next pay-per-view where we're going to get the War Games match. Man, this is a really historic show, and I think it aged really well, especially if you go in with the expectation of what the matches are going to be. It's not going to be, again, Hogan and the Giant are not going to have this classic transcendent match that's going to make you blow your mind. But if you like good story, this is a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll even throw that the Harlem Heat Steiner Brothers match was actually really good besides that finish. There's a lot of good meat in this sandwich. It was a very good show. It was fun. And like you said, it's the first of its kind. They didn't, they eventually turned the Road Wild. It becomes its own fucking being. It's awesome. But it was cool to see. I thought Sturgis crowd, again, will completely disagree with Meltzer. I think it was fan-fucking-tastic. I thought it was actually a really rowdy crowd. Really good time.
So with that being said, let's move to the chaser, talk about our favorite part of the 2 nights of WCW, one of Nitro, one of Hog Wild. So every week we will pick our favorite parts of the 2 nights of wrestling. So Belcast, I'll let you start. You kind of alluded to some of the things you liked about the 2 nights, but go ahead and get the lead here. I guess pick one from Nitro, one from Hog Wild.
Ooh,
you don't have to pick from Nitro if there's nothing there. If it's just storytelling.
I'm looking at Nitro. There was I'm actually gonna go if we're gun to head, if we were picking something off Nitro, Alex Wright and Chris Benoit. Thought it was an actual really fun match. Yeah, really good shit, good stuff. And this is Chris Benoit's weekend because he tore down the fucking house at Sturgis to the fact that there was no arena there. They were wrestling on dirt and mud. His match against Dean Malenko, man, it was some of the best wrestling I've seen in a long time. It's bar none. It was fucking fantastic. Outside of the storytelling, pure fucking wrestling. Those are my choices.
I agree with you 100%. I think for the Nitro, I'll just add the fact the bouquet of flowers thing. I thought it aged really well. Just kind of the funeral vibe to trying to kill WCW. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
The limo thing didn't really pay off the way we thought it would pay off, but it still was a fun little thing. It felt real, like there was mind games, similar to like the Sopranos, where they're sending messages by via the mob. So, just creates this new layer of wrestling storyline where it's head games.
Mountain Dew, Popeye.
Mountain Dew and Papa, baby. In order to, I guess, we talked about historic, obviously, Hogan winning the title as the leader of the New World Order, spray painting the world title belt. Really disrespectful to the legacy of the belt, but huge move in their way. I think, you think about the two different levels of disrespect to championship belts. You talk about ECW when Shane Douglas threw down the Eastern Championship Wrestling belt and ushered in Extreme Championship Wrestling. Shout out to season 2 of Shot Nostalgia.
Hell
but
yeah.
also spray painting this big gold belt. That's a huge statement. Like, we're going all in a New World Order. And I'm sure it pissed off a lot of traditional wrestling fans at the time.
Well, it's funny because like we're desensitized now, especially rewatching. You're like, oh, he's spray painted the belt, whatever. But it was a big fucking deal back then, huge deal. I don't think people were expecting it, and I think it probably did piss off a lot of people in the industry. Like, how can you disrespect tradition like that, man? Like, why would you do something? But if solidified the bad guy Hulk Hogan was going to be, like, fuck this company. We're part of the New World Order. It's iconic now. Like you said, they sell belts to the video games. There's action figures that come out with it. It was a very, very important time in pro wrestling history.
It's one of those things too. I don't think Hogan probably knew how important it would be. Like, spray paint was probably just a secondary thought. Like, happened to be at the hardware store, picked it up. Like, oh yeah, whatever. I'll just do something like this. Like, if this was done differently, we think about the sign at Nitro a few weeks ago with the sheets. It didn't have the same effect. It had to be spray painted. It had to be black spray painted. It had to be in Hogan's handwriting. Really, really well done. And I think, again, it's easy to look back now and be like, oh, no big deal. They spray painted the title. But this was a huge deal that, again, pissed a lot of people off, I'm sure. But also, it's not just a random title. It's not a custom title. It's not like you got the Smoke and Skull title that they gave Stone Cold. This is the big gold belt that represents the whole legacy of WCW. So, yeah, this was a huge flag in the ground. Like, New World Order is here to stay, and we're treating it as such. So it's a huge part of our show.
Huge shit.
And then as far as match and work rate goes, I have to say Ric Flair and Eddie Guerrero. It wasn't the longest match. And you mentioned, obviously, Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit, but I'll piggyback that as well. I love it.
Yeah.
But I just love Eddie Guerrero in this match. And Flair continues to just make guys look like $1 million. And Eddie Guerrero holds his own. He can also do exactly what Flair does and carry anybody. He can carry a broom, like, how Kenny Omega wrestled a broom all those years ago.
Yeah.
He also wrestled like what Kenny Omega wrestled, like a 7-year-old boy, whatever. That's like
blow up doll. I think he did the blow up doll. Pretty sure he did the blow up doll too.
Yeah. But Eddie Guerrero could do much of the same. I think Eddie Guerrero is on par with any worker we've seen in the history of wrestling. I just don't, I don't think he blossomed into the main event star not because of him.
Yeah.
I think they waited a little bit. He could have been the guy in WCW at this time. I think it would have been awesome to be, all right, let's put WCW on Eddie Guerrero's back and NWO will go against him. But, different timeline.
Yeah. Like, I'll just to give Eddie a little bit more kudos. I love CM Punk's story where he's like, I thought I was the best wrestler in the world until I wrestled Eddie Guerrero. And he's I knew I was shit. Like, Eddie was, not just ahead of his time, but he was a master of the fucking art and the craft of it, man. He knew how to fucking work. And you're watching a baby Eddie Guerrero here wrestling Ric Flair. It's crazy, man. Awesome shit.
So good. And we're going to get ready to close the tab here. We're about 13 minutes away from before our time, WrestleMania 6, Young Anthony and Nick Storm joining you guys to continue Flashback Friday. So stay tuned with us. We're going to close the tab, give a final wrap up preview for next week. Just go over what else is going here on the Tavern. All right, here we are closing the tab. We got our final wrap up. As we mentioned, I showed you guys the picture for next week. I'm going to pull it up again. We have a big show for episode 19, August 12th, Nitro. They got Clash of Champions 33, which will have Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan for the championship, and August 19th. So we're going to try our best to keep it under 2 hours. We did a good job this week. We got 13 minutes to spare. We won't go over. I don't want to worry about downloading, compressing, editing, all that stuff. So that's for next week. And we may have some special guests joining us down the line. I know that there's an episode in October. Chad will be joining us again. Potentially Nick Storm can come on again. We're putting it out there for a whole bunch of people. You don't know who's going to show up. because we want to get everybody else's take on WCW. We're about to move into some really fun stuff.
Oh, I can't wait.
There's some stuff going on in your world, Fig Night, upcoming All Out trip. Anything you want to throw here on Shot Nostalgia?
If you haven't watched already, I believe we should have this filmed by now, and it'll be up in the timeline. But the WWE Mattel Creations New Gen Arenas are in hand at our presence. So me and Tom are going to do a live. We have done. We put it together. We're a whole unboxing, a whole building video. The ring's fucking massive. The stage is huge, dude. These things are 16 pounds shipped. That's fucking huge. Where we got our doinks. Speaking of diesels, we're going to be unboxing the Ultimate Diesel, the Ultimate Doink the Clown, all the cool pre-order bonuses. I believe the Macho Mans are coming a little later, but we're going to get an announcer Macho Man in his white and black with the cool little table and everything. But go watch that. Go check that out. Hang out. It's just a fun fucking Friday here at the Turnbuckle Tavern, man.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can go to the turnbuckletavern.com to check out everything we are doing. We just reached 800 subscribers on YouTube, so our path to 1,000 subscribers continues. We're going to be doing big giveaways on Twitch, on YouTube, on Instagram. Stay tuned for that. The Chads will be posting that. You never know what we're going to be giving away. Fig Knight did a really awesome giveaway for that Kenny Omega figure. That was a chase, right? A chase Kenny Omega.
It was a shop AEW, one of 3,000. So they're going to go. That's a rare piece to add into anybody's collection if you haven't already gotten it. So we like to get rowdy here. We throw collectibles out, not just toys. This isn't like, here's this fucking thing you could go buy at Target right now. That Kenny Omega's gone. They're selling them on eBay now. Like, there's no other way to get them. It's out the window. And who knows what's going to happen down the line. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Outside of your normal tavern shows, I'm sure there's going to be some fun going down and All Out. For FanFest, for all of our stuff. We love Figgies. The worlds are going to implode because Ace and Belcaster are meeting in person. The handshakes, the mega powers, brother. It's going down. So, who knows? You never know what's going to happen. We going to Motor City? Yeah. But you never know.
Feel the power in my hand, brother.
Feel the power in my hand, brother. But you never know what's going to happen coming up the next couple weeks. So stay tuned. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you're liking, you're sharing, you're commenting. You're telling us what you want to see, what else we could do for you. Help us help you. Help me help you. Help Steve help you. Man.
Leave a 5-star review. Go and check out the flagship episode from yesterday. Did a great job. And go back and watch Dynamite. We had a great night. We had OG Fig Kid Tom meeting JR. He met Tony Storm. Picture with JR at Tudor's Biscuit World. We also have them in the front row. You see the back of their heads all night. They happen on the hard cam. Bloody Daniel Garcia was in their lap. They got to witness Kenny Omega coming back live in West Virginia. Awesome night for the Turnbuckle Tavern. And speaking of the Turnbuckle Tavern, you guys want to support us in a big way, buy some shirts. This is the one I'm wearing. That Purple Beauty, Shot Nostalgia. It's becoming a classic, like the Black New World Order shirt. So get it while you can. You guys can get that Tavern Daddy shirt. Also, I have it as well. Buy some merch. Support the Tavern. Wear it to All Out Weekend. If you wear it, I'm going to give you a sticker. I'm going to give you a hug. If you have it, ProWrestlingTees.com/tavern. You can also go to Teespring and check out their shirts as well. It's not Pro Wrestling Tees, but it's some good stuff. We got the Anti-Taskmaster shirt. Oh, and I forgot to mention this as we have 8 minutes. I will be Sunday. I'm going to be going to Outlaw Wrestling. Guess who'll be there, Mike Belcaster?
Oh, hit me up.
The Taskmaster himself, Kevin Sullivan. The worlds will collide. I'll be breathing the same O2 oxygen, drinking the same beer from the same tap as Kevin Sullivan. The Ace and Kevin Sullivan will be live and in person together. I will do my damnedest to get a picture, to get something from Kevin Sullivan. Tell him about Shot Nostalgia. Make him win me over. Tell him about reliving the Dungeon of Doom. I'll pat him on the back. Maybe we'll get him doing it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I just need a picture with the man himself. If he's wearing the shitty face paint, though, I'm walking away. He can't be wearing the face paint. No way he's wearing the face paint.
What you do is you're going to go up to whoever's running the house. You're going to slip them a 50, tell them to turn the lights that really shitty green color. And you're going to walk. Kevin Sullivan's. He's already going to be in red. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And then you're gonna get the Jimmy Hart coat, with his face on the back of it, and you're just gonna be like, Daddy, it's me, it's Jimmy. We're running this show to nostalgia, brother. He'll be on, no problem. It's a lot of work, but it's totally worth the payoff.
So stay tuned to social media. If I can get a picture of Kevin Sullivan, and you guys, to hype up my stuff a little bit, I did interview Willie Wise from Outlaw Wrestling. Great interview. He'll be teaming with Scotty 2 Hotty in the main event, taking on the administration at Great South Bay Brewery in Bayshore, New York. It's gonna be a fun show. So check that out. Make sure you give them a follow. Outlaw does a really good job. Homicide's their champion. Little Guido participates. And like I mentioned, there's stars all over the place. Tommy Dreamer, I met him last time I was there. So it's a good time. If Outlaw happens to be in town, they usually do Northeast shows, but if they happen to be in your area, go check them out. It's a good time.
Oh yeah, sounds like a good time.
Yes, I'll be there Sunday night, and again, I'll share some pictures. But we have some time to spare. But you know what? You have 6 minutes to get up and get a drink. It's Flashback Friday. We have Before Our Time starting in 6 minutes. You know, they're going to be reviewing WrestleMania 6, like I mentioned before. We got Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior and the Ultimate Challenge, title for title, the IC Championship for the WWF Championship, live from Toronto. Edge is in the crowd, a young Edge wearing a Hulk Rules shirt. So a lot going on. And as I mentioned before, we do have season 2 of Shot Nostalgia coming up in November. So before you know it will be November. The leaves are going to start to fall. Halloween's going to come and go. We're going to have season 2 of Shot Nostalgia, ECW 1995. It's an abbreviated schedule, 13 episodes. It's going to be a really good time. We're going to go through the newsletter, same format, same everything. We're going to get
blame the network
on the Peacock. We're gonna try to dub over the music. I'm gonna have to have on my Spotify to be my most played song, Natural Born Killers, as New Jack's out there.
That's all you need.
A good time.
Yeah. Make sure you guys take this next couple minutes. Go get yourself a Mountain Dew and a Popeye. Put the nunchuck down. Go get yourself a Mountain Dew, Daddy. Get the do and do. You put it all up there.
But you know what, guys? We have to go. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Please, again, like and subscribe, leave a review, leave a comment. We have been Shot Nostalgia. Make sure you guys respect your history, watch Turnbuckle Tavern, and we'll see you guys next week.